So, another curveball in the Idaho student murders. We now hear that there is a sixth person who lived within this property. It would appear that someone has got hold of the lease, potentially, and found that there is a sixth person. We don't quite know how this has leaked at the moment, whether this was a tactical maneuver to control rumor, or whether someone has indeed found it and leaked it themselves. But it seems to be confirmed that there is a sixth person who lives within that property, and that brings a lot of questions. Who is this sixth person? Was this sixth person the target, and is that why they weren't in the property? Were they purposefully avoiding the place that night? Were they somewhere else? They have not said that this is a suspicious person or they are potentially a suspect, but you've got to ask yourself, with what we know and what has been said, it raises some huge alarm bells to me, because you'd think that this would be something that would already have been out in the mainstream, that there was a sixth person and they didn't happen to be within the residence. You would think there would be more information out there. But at the moment, very, very minimal. We have no names. We have no idea who this sixth person is, why they weren't there, where they were instead. And like I say, so many questions at the moment. Were these victims targeted? Was this a targeted attack? Was the property targeted? As this is something that they've kind of flip-flopped from one side to the other, and they haven't handled this very well whatsoever. At the end of the day, some information, we can all appreciate that it is about the integrity of the case, but really, can that be an excuse, this flip-flopping from one way to the other on this targeted versus untargeted? At the end of the day, that is very, very important to confirm to the public just how safe they are, because at the moment, how safe are the public really? We just don't have answers to that. And like I say, there are a lot of questions. Not only that, but people are trying to find out how law enforcement would have initially concluded that this could have potentially been targeted. Was it indeed because of some of the information that we've kind of seen filtered through, which we can't 100% confirm the accuracy of that, but we're talking about the injuries that certain victims sustained that, you know, has obviously led to further speculation. You know, the issues that you have with Xana's mum being arrested for narcotics, and could there have been connections to narcotics, whether it be anguish over the supply, whether it be a monetary owed situation and that has backfired? There's so many. There seems to still be, for some strange reason, a lot of questions surrounding the dog and whether the dog barked. Does the dog not barking show that whoever entered the property was known? Because the dog was obviously familiar. But at the end of the day, some dogs bark, some dogs don't. And I don't really see the importance in that. One of the big things for me, what I will say, is the layout of the property itself and the build, the structural integrity of that property. It seems to me that it's quite an older property where there would be sounds carried through it. You know, like our property, if the kids are fighting upstairs, we can hear it. We know through what we've been told that some of the victims had defensive wounds. And along with defensive wounds comes struggle. With struggle comes noise. And I think this is why the surviving members of that house have caught so much flack, because the question is, how did they not hear anything? And this is still an ongoing question, which I don't want to surmise myself. At the end of the day, we weren't there, so we do not know. You know, we've all been young, we've all been passed out drunk. It could be that people sleep with earphones in, whatever, fans blowing, music playing. We just don't know. So that question may not ever be answered. But these big questions, like who this sixth person is, was this targeted? Was it not? These are questions that I feel do do need to be answered. The public does have a right to know how safe and how unsafe they are. Further on, we hear that Jeremy has himself, this is Jeremy, the neighbour, he has gone and submitted his DNA. They didn't go to him and ask for it. He has gone forward himself and give them it. So he is being the proactive one there. So does that mean anything? Well, it means that Jeremy's willing to give his DNA. So, you know, despite, again, I've felt that he's a bit socially awkward, a little bit weird, but he seems to be doing what needs to be done. There was some flack yesterday from what I said about this area, and the law enforcement need to be going and getting DNA from people. And, you know, it's kind of triggered a lot of people because they were like, you know, our rights, etc. And I get that. I do get it. But I do also feel that there's a time and a place. And when you're talking about a small area, we've got a killer on the loose who has gone into a property and viciously murdered 4 students and is still at large. I do feel that law enforcement at that stage should be given the powers to do what needs to be done to bring this to justice. And I don't see why anybody would battle that. And if anybody around this area are battling that, and they're saying, no, I don't want to give, the question then has to be asked, well, why don't you? Why would you not want to be part of the solution to get this brought to a conclusion? So on one hand, I understand where you're coming from, but on the other hand, what would you expect if it was your children, your child who had been butchered and you was looking for who did it? Let me know down below. Where are you? As we go into the weekend, still a lot of questions, still no real answers. And all I can hope is that we come out the other side of the weekend in a much different position than we are now. Anything breaking comes out, of course, I will cover it for you. But if not, then we will give this a rest over the weekend. I'm doing a Shanquella Robinson video later on today, so make sure that you keep an eye open for that. Thanks for that, by the way. It would appear that that wasn't quite as simple as it should have been either, as we now hear that the reports on the arrests in the Shanquella Robinson case are, in fact, fake. I'll catch you in the next one.